Hello everyone, my name is Tilly Humphreys. I'm from Small Charities Coalition and today it is International Youth Day. International Youth Day was set up back in 1999 by the UN, and it was a way to celebrate the voices of young people and mainstream the voices of young people, their actions and their initiatives. And it seems like International Youth Day has come around at quite a poignant time this year, as there's a lot of change for young people, especially with regard to the job market. So from March till May this year, 16 to 24-year-olds, there was 540,000 16 to 24-year-olds who were unemployed, which is an increase of 26,000 from the previous quarter. However, having said this, young people are as passionate as ever about getting involved in charitable causes. 20% of 16 to 24-year-olds last year had volunteered, and I think over 50% had signed an online petition. So there's definitely people who are passionate about charities and are passionate about working for them, which is why we believe that small charities can really benefit from employing and recruiting younger people. Which is why I'm joined by the founder and director of Youth Employment UK, Laura Jane Rawlings, or as LJ she likes to be called. So I'm going to ask LJ if she can tell us a bit more about Youth Employment UK and how it all began back in 2012.
Thanks, Tilly, and happy International Youth Day.
Happy International Youth Day.
So Youth Employment UK was founded in the last recession when we saw youth unemployment reach a peak of 1 million young people not in education, employment or training. And the reason that we were founded was because there's so much happens to young people in that youth employment space, whether it's policymakers in Whitehall making decisions about accessing careers, education services, or whether it's employers and charities and CSR projects creating initiatives. But I saw too many of those initiatives and too many of those policies being created for young people without young people. And so Youth Employment UK, what makes us really unique, and it's very much the heart of what we do in the youth employment space, is about bringing young people's voices to the table and letting them be involved in our co-design and co-creation of services, so that we're not doing to young people, but we do with them. And I think that's been a testament to our success over the last 8 years. So essentially as an organisation, in those 8 years, we've become a real expert on youth unemployment, really working with young people directly to understand their barriers and challenges all over the UK, from all backgrounds and with all levels of different experience. By understanding that, we're then able to, develop research, inform projects, inform government, inform our partners, whether they're employers or third sector. We're a hugely collaborative organisation, but we're able to come to that table with young people and really kind of take positive action about those challenges and barriers. So what that looks like in 2020 is that we are, I guess that building of all of that expertise has become really, really essential right now. So since the coronavirus hit, we really understood what that was going to do. It doesn't come with just a health warning, coronavirus. It comes with an economic one, and as we were just talking before we started filming, mental health, the education challenges that it's created. Young people will really bear the brunt of the impact of COVID-19 in so many different ways. And so we've been working flat out these last few months to work with our partners, to work with government, to work with young people, employers, to really understand what those challenges are going to be, to start to think about how we can mitigate some of those challenges and make sure that we don't lose an entire generation to something that really isn't their fault and they're doing. I don't know how effective any of that can be, really, because we still don't know what the end of COVID looks like. We still are learning every day. And until we see that end, it's going to be really difficult to start to put in solutions to it. But it's a tough world.
Tough world. And what do you think a small charity over a larger charity in terms of employment would be able to offer a younger person?
I think, and your stat that 20% of our 16 to 24-year-olds do volunteering, we've spent a lot of time, haven't we, in the last few years talking about social action with young people and getting them involved in different levels of volunteering, fundraising or youth voice work. And young people really are, our experience has been that actually is probably not even close to the volume really that are taking part in some form of positive action, because wherever we meet young people, they are doing something, they're engaged. I know for sure when I was 18, I was not doing any form of positive social action. What is the opposite of positive social action? I'm not sure, but
negative social action. But that sounds awful, doesn't it?
But this young generation are really passionate about their society. They're really passionate about giving back, being involved, shaping, changing, challenging. They're incredibly articulate and talented when it comes to having a voice and taking action. And so I think that they're really valuable in terms of both for charities, large or small, in being part of co-design, co-leading. Young people should be embedded throughout every stage of a charity, particularly if it's a charity that services young people. But even if it's not, I would have young people involved in all charities at all levels. We're at Youth Employment UK, we're a social enterprise actually, but a not-for-profit, and I have a youth ambassador board of young people and a non-exec young director who has full voting rights on my board. I think if you're working in a youth space, you have a damn responsibility to have board members who can hold you accountable, who are the end user of your service. So one of, I don't care what size you are, I think that should be an imperative to all organisations to have that youth voice threaded throughout, and real accountability, not tokenistically. And utilise young people in volunteering and make sure that's good quality and that you're giving back to young people. With our volunteer programme, our young people get probably more from us, in some ways than we do through mentoring and through training programmes and through that support. So making sure that it's equal. And then I think in terms of an employer, we have 2 young apprentices who work for us here. So I'm a staff team of 5, and 4.5. So nearly 50% of my workforce are under 24. And again, I think that's something that, not least because we call ourselves Youth Employment UK, that we should be walking our own talk and putting into practice our series around youth employment. But again, our young staff members have made phenomenal contributions, particularly in this crisis period, where they've been able to support their peer groups through our ambassador programme and really step into some of the challenges that we've been working with. So I think small charities, particularly now we're seeing the apprenticeship investment from government, could go some way in shoring up their skills and their workforce talent by having young people involved.
I was going to say, exactly how it is that if a small charity were wanting to employ a younger person, is there any sort of incentives or money that they can get from government to help them employ younger people?
So there's going to be, and these will come online, and across the next few months, and we're getting more detail all the time. There are probably 3 or 4 really good avenues for charities to think about. So whilst we think about young people still in education, we know that young people really need work experience. Work experience is something that's massively valuable in terms of learning about the world of work, developing those key skills, and often employers will say young people aren't employable. That's really difficult for young people, because where do you become employable if your school doesn't offer work experience, or you can't find a work experience opportunity, if you can't get a Saturday job because, we had the death of the Saturday job before COVID, they're certainly happy to not be any Saturday jobs for young people. So taking and offering a really good work experience programme whilst young people are still in education is really important, not least because the charity sector needs to diversify its talent pool. And inspiring young people before they make career choices is going to be an important part of that. So there's those early school engagement activities. The government have redeveloped vocational education under a T-level programme, and as part of a young person going on to college or with a provider to do a T-level, they will need to do 45 days work experience in a really, clear working environment. Well, the charity sector could, I think, do something brilliant in offering a really great structured programme of work experience across the T-levels. And then when we move young people out of education, there are a couple of different opportunities to get involved in supporting young people. The first is a traineeship programme, where there is going to be a cash incentive to take a young person on in a traineeship, which could be 6 weeks to 12 months of work experience, and they get supported by a training provider to, particularly if they haven't got good levels of qualifications, they can be doing the work experience and getting some qualifications at the same time that will help them on their journey to work. So a traineeship, there's an incentive, cash incentive around that. We saw the launch of Kickstart. Rishi Sunak in his summer Not a Budget Jobs Plan launched Kickstart, which is going to allow employers to take on a young person who is unemployed into their business for work experience, that they will be paid. That young person will have their salary paid for them up to 6 months. Mm-hmm. So that's a great opportunity for charities, who perhaps can't afford the full salary of a young person to benefit and to ensure that young person's getting paid for the work they do. And then there was another announcement as part of that in terms of a £2,000 incentive for charities to take on an apprentice, organisations to take on an apprentice. So there is some incentives now to think about it.
Definitely, it sounds like it. And if there was a small charity they're wanting to reach out to younger people, what do you think the best way of a charity would be to make themselves quite attractive for a young person to want to join that charity? There's lots of small charities out there, so how do they go about doing that?
So we are home to what's called the Youth Friendly Employer Badge here at Youth Employment UK, and we worked with a range of partners to create a set of good youth employment principles, and young people, of course, in what does a good employer look like. And so those principles are really important to bear in mind, to think about what you want to be as an employer. I would encourage everybody to take a look at those principles, and you can sign up to them with the Youth Friendly Employer Badge. So once you sign up to them, you can get the badge, and actually then we provide free online advice and guidance to to anybody that signs up to the Youth Friendly Employer Badge, to embed those principles, to think about them. We have work experience templates and guides and resources for employers who become youth friendly. So, and that there's no cost to that. So that's free of charge. Yeah. And then when you are signed up to the Youth Friendly Employer Badge, you're listed on our database that young people can search for. Okay. And more than that, we have over 100,000 young people using our site to get skills and careers information. Wow. Not bad for a small social enterprise that's not been funded. So we have over 100,000, and in fact during lockdown we've seen that number rise to 145,000 young people a month coming to get skills and careers information help. So for those organisations that really want to shine as a brand of choice, they can use our platform to help them kind of create that brand. And we're helping those employers that work with us in that way to create digital work experiences and to think differently about what that looks like during, some sort of isolation, social distancing, etc.
Yeah. And so sort of touching on there in terms of recruitment then, what do you think is the best way that a charity can recruit, get out there to younger people?
To me, just what you said, get out there, particularly if we're thinking about social mobility and diversity and inclusion in that recruitment process. Advertising on Indeed is not the way forward. It really isn't. Young people don't get huge amounts of CV and job searching advice. We're trying to change that here at Youth Employment UK, but it's still not consistent. So there's talent out there that often gets excluded because they don't know how to use those mechanisms. Yeah. So if you're a charity working, face to face in your community, talk to the community, talk to the people you serve. And I would imagine most of us have ready-made talent pools at our fingertips. Yeah. Delivering some sort of service.
Perfect. And sort of finally, how do you think that young people are going to shape the future of the charity sector?
Gosh, I've got goosebumps. When you ask me how can young people change the future, I get goosebumps just thinking about that. That's an amazing question, and they have so much potential. What our young people need, and actually I think some charities really need a shake-up in leadership. Mm-hmm. I think there is some new ideas that need to be allowed to come through, some new thinking that needs to be allowed to come through. And I think our job as leaders is to start mentoring and bringing in young people and empowering them to shape that, the future of our sector. And I think we should not be afraid to lift up our young people along our leadership journeys into our organisations.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, LJ, for joining us. That was really, really useful. And all of the links that you've mentioned there, I'm going to include in the information box below so everyone can check out Youth Employment UK. Happy International Youth Day, and thank you everyone again for joining. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.